In November, members of the global cycling community gathered in picturesque Siam Country Club in Thailand for a two-day celebration of pedal power. The inaugural Bangkok Bank CycleFest offered thousands of cycling fanatics fast-paced racing and an opportunity to ride for all. In this special program, we catch up with one of cycling's best-loved characters, Jens Vogt.
If I would have known how good retirement is, I would have retired like 5 years ago.
We hear how cycling's on the up in the land of smiles.
I would love to see Bangkok like in Amsterdam, like people, like more bikes on the road than cars.
And learn of a very special legacy in the making.
If they start from something small like cycling, I think that would give them some sort of inspiration. They could do something bigger in the future.
Plus, we have all the action from the weekend's racing. But first, getting to know more about the Bangkok Bank CycleFest and Pattaya. "100 kilometres south of Bangkok, the vibrant city of Pattaya has long been a popular destination for Thai and international tourists. One of its crown jewels is the Buddhist temple known as the Sanctuary of Truth. Construction began in 1981, and its intricate hand-carved wooden detailing means completion's not expected until 2050. The atmospheric floating market has become the go-to place to experience Pattaya's legendary culinary reputation and shopping. But it's in sport and leisure that Pattaya is emerging as a truly global destination. Siam Country Club is renowned as one of Thailand's premier golfing destinations with its 3 challenging courses. For 2 days in November, this world-class venue was dedicated to all things bike for the first edition of the Bangkok Bank CycleFest. A lively festival arena provided the opportunity to shop, learn and relax, while a closed road course of 15.5 kilometres was dedicated to 6 race categories, from the highly competitive to rather more leisurely rides. Designed with all abilities in mind, technical corners, gentle inclines and fast flat sections, the course was primed to serve up a feast of compelling action. There was a strong lineup for the open female race, totalling 46.5 kilometres, and it would fall to former Tour de France favourite Jens Vogt to wave the riders off on their 3-lap loop. The race would fracture early and never come back together, with small groups working together across the course. One of the famous faces taking part was actress and ride ambassador Van Panitjarun, proving her cycling skills at the front of the field for most of the day. But it was another local rider who would ultimately steal the show. Aged just 19, Pattaya Sutitum had already tasted cycling success at national level, and she demonstrated her immense promise with a winning time of 1 hour, 27 minutes and 54 seconds.
I prepare myself on a regular basis. I knew that there were other contenders in this event. I was confident with the way I prepared myself, but I could not underestimate them. I did my best and succeeded. I'm very happy.
Just a couple of hours later, it was time for the open male category at the Bangkok Bank CycleFest as the riders tackled 4 laps of the Siam Country Club parkour. Despite fair conditions overhead, strong winds combined with the deceptively technical course made for challenging riding, and splits soon developed across the peloton. With the punchy uphill sections taken at high speeds, the strongest riders in the pack were soon able to assert themselves, and an elite group eventually formed at the front. This group had strong representation for the niche cycling and life and living team. A bunch sprint seemed likely heading into the final lap. However, Thailand's Kunakorn Nonthicham showed his strength, the 24-year-old slipping off the front of the pack in the final kilometre to take the spoils and upset the sprinters' party.
I have to say that this course is quite difficult because it was very windy. We had to ride with the wind and against it. It was really fun. The event was very well organised.
One of the most recognisable faces at the Bangkok Bank CycleFest was former professional and fan favourite Jens Vogt. The German breakaway specialist rode the Tour de France a staggering 17 times in his career, winning 2 individual stages before retiring at the end of 2014. The Berliner now travels the globe as an ambassador for the sport.
Retirement, as long as you are not a complete idiot, it doesn't come surprisingly. You know, you can see your body slowing down. You can see your mind going, I don't want to do this anymore. So it's a slow process getting in. So then you need to be realistic and go, okay, look, I got 1 more, 2 more, 3 more years in me. I ain't got to make a plan. So I started about 2 years out to see, okay, what are my options, right? Things turned out fairly smooth for me. And yeah, I'm not complaining at all. Actually, quite the contraire. If I would have known how good retirement is, I would have retired like 5 years ago.
Retirement for any cyclist rarely means stepping away from the bike. As with all ex-pros, making the shift from racing has required some serious physical and mental adjustments.
The only point where I really struggled a lot, still struggle a little bit with it, the loss of fitness. It hit me like a punch. I'm like, okay, that's it. From now on, it's all downhill. You're just gonna get fatter, weaker, slower, and older. You pass the top of the peak of your life. That was hard to take, you know, because I was the bloody Yenzi. I was unbeatable, indestructible, you know. And now, no, you're mere mortal. This year, I think 2 or 3 times where, like, after a longer period of time, I go back on the bike, and the first initial feeling and thought is, I'm home. Like, this is part of my body. It's like one of my limbs. The bike is like another hand or leg or arm of my body. You jump on the bike and really you go, oh, I'm home. That's where I belong. That's me. That's part of me. So I think I should take that and, you know, do more cycling. It's good. It's good for stress relief, and apparently it's still in me.
Vogt has a long connection with Thailand, and through his work as an ambassador for Bangkok Bank CycleFest, he's seen just how popular cycling is becoming here. In fact, the Yenzi's so impressed he's forming his own ideas on how to bring pro racing to Thailand for the first time.
Potential for cycling in Asia or Thailand is always there. We have races in China. They could try something, you know, Tour Down Under, start the year off, and then it's only a 4-hour flight, if that, stop over on the way back to Europe and have another like weekend here in Thailand, and then people fly over to Europe. So instead of just going for 1 week to Australia, they add another week and have another event here. Why not? I would love to see a professional team here. So the way Thailand and the economy develops, I think they're doing pretty well. So there's enough big companies here that you could have a budget for a professional team. It doesn't have to be world tour in the first year, but a bigger team. And then when people race more in Europe, and I believe we would have that big initial or ignition of passion if we could place the first rider from Thailand in the Tour de France, just to participate. People would watch it. You know, people would start, hey, that is so cool, you know. So that's the way it should go. In the ideal scenario, having a team and having, like, in whatever, 3 years, 5 years, having the first rider from Thailand in the Tour de France as part of one of the professional teams. So I was in the lucky position that I come here once or twice a year since I retired. So this year already 3 times. And in these 3 years, I already could eyewitness the development of cycling, of the cycling community. Cycling becomes more popular and just bigger and better, you know. And now with this event, the Bangkok Bank CycleFest, I feel we are off to a good start. We had about 2,500, 2,400 people over the weekend. And so now word's gonna spread around, and I cannot see a reason why we shouldn't have 5,000, double next year if they wanna have more of it. So it's a good event, and I hope I can come back here for another 4 or 5 years.
With the Bangkok Bank CycleFest establishing itself as a highlight of the cycling calendar in Thailand, just what is the state of the sport in a country where pedal power is still largely overlooked in wider society?
The traffic here in Bangkok, it's so crazy. I have to admit that. We have to admit that. And also, we're not really used to commuting from house to work on a bike because of the weather, and because our roads are not designed and they don't really favor cyclists that much. But hopefully it will get better.
Fortunately, some of the country's most famous faces are helping to improve conditions for cyclists, including one whose two-wheeled epiphany came just 5 years ago.
At first, when I want to start to ride a bike, I know that I'm not good at balance. So my good friends recommend me that, hey, you just start with mountain biking because white tide and quite safe, something like that. So, and then I addicted to it. At first, it's all about traveling. And then I start to, like the speed. So it's road bike.
These days, the actress juggles her showbiz commitments with racing and training in Thailand's thriving competitive scene.
2 years ago, when I think that, okay, I should be in more race, but then I have to consult with my manager and my working team, like entertainment, because they don't want me to get crashed. The race that I will join, I have to make sure that, okay, I'm quite fine with the route, I'm used to it, I'll be fine, something like that. So it's 2 years ago, my first race, and I won first place. The training now is more brutal because most of girls getting better and better. Some of them start with like 16, 17, so fast, so light. And now it's like, so when I train, I had like 6 days a week, 2 hours per day.
That training's clearly paying off, with Van Van finishing in a very respectable 8th place in the CycleFest's open female race. And in this growing community, each event's a chance to meet new people and share experience.
I also made friends yesterday because I met some girl that new face, but they good, they strong, but they still don't know how to get in the corner or, to speed up, like to speed up with power meter because they didn't use it. So we have a little chat and then we plan to train together. So it's kind of like competitive, but also makes friend bonding.
Behind one of the most recognizable teams in the men's race is a story that illustrates the emerging cycling industry in Thailand.
My name is Chinatip Bunchok Hilan Meta. My nickname is Chin. Actually, when I was young, I remember about my age, about 7 years 5 years, 6 years, I always sit on the bike shop near my house. And I start painting my own bike from that time.
From that childhood inspiration would grow Niche Cycling, now one of Thailand's largest bike brands.
In the past, we don't have the much product in Thailand, which means the product that come into Thailand that time is really expensive and high-end, the cost, everything. So I have an idea to have the good quality product and reasonable price and sell to the Thai people.
With a strong racing scene and a growing cycling industry, it's clear Thailand is well placed to become a new cycling power. Evidence of that was fully on display at the CycleFest, and some of the sport's most high-profile fans are starting to have big biking dreams for the future.
I would love to see Bangkok like in Amsterdam, you know, like people, like more bikes on the road than cars. You know, like, because I think I would say just like half, like 50% of people who live in Bangkok travel by bikes. We would just be so happy, you know, like no traffic, we don't have to get stressed. I think it's growing year by year.
The Masters event gave some of the more experienced riders at the Bangkok Bank CycleFest the chance to taste glory, and there was no shortage of talent among a packed field. Like the Open Male event, the race consisted of 4 laps around the CycleFest course, and that gave ample opportunity for the strongest participants to come to the fore. Windy conditions and a fast pace over the opening 3 laps caused a number of splits, and eventually a 2-man break consisting of South Africa's Tim Carter and Hubert Herber were able to escape for the final lap. Having held off the rest of the field, the race came down to a 2-up sprint, and it was Carter who hit the line first, showing he had the stronger legs. Behind the remaining pack contested the minor places as Ireland's Alan Benson showed an impressive long sprint to claim the final spot on the Masters podium.
I knew that there was one chap, the chap who came second, I knew that he was going to go at a certain point in the race, and all I had to do was make sure I was with him. And he went and I went and we got a gap, and that was it. We stayed away for the last lap, and it was down to the sprint in the end, and I managed to have the legs to do the sprint, which surprised me immensely because I'm not a great sprinter. So absolutely fantastic, I'm thrilled.
Communication and determination would be key as the team time trial squad set off one by one in a bid to tackle 4 laps of the 15.5-kilometre circuit in the fastest time. Van waved the starting flag for the final racing event of the weekend, and the crowds turned out in force to cheer on the hopefuls. Taking the twists and turns were tricky enough in dry conditions for many teams riding together for the first time, but things later became all the more challenging when the weather turned and rain set in. The showers did little to dampen the spirits, with some teams choosing to savour the moment. Nor did they slow those looking to top the leaderboard. Emerging victorious were local team Rujai Interbike, their 5-man group finishing in a time of 1 hour, 31 minutes and 53 seconds.
We worked out who was going to be on the front from the start. So, you know, we had our order, our set order of team member. And the plan is, naturally, is to go not too fast, okay, in order to not blow up basically on the first or second or third lap. You've got to keep a steady pace.
Away from the drama of the weekend's racing, the closed roads were also thrown open to those looking to enjoy riding in a more relaxed environment. The event's second day was largely dedicated to the concept of Ride for All, ensuring this opportunity for everyone regardless of age or ability.
Cycling is getting more popular in almost every country, and particularly in Thailand, we see it picking up trend in terms of people like to go out, exercise, work out. So cycling is that's something that all generation, I would think, the young generation, middle age, senior people, I think they all could enjoy this type of activity.
Those behind the idea were keen to use the festival to emphasise the benefits of cycling to everyone, as a full field of riders filled the circuit for the family-friendly fun ride. That appeared to be mission accomplished.
They could bring in many ways, joyful activities, relationship among family members, co-workers, office people. So you can see people from all walks of life, I would say, yesterday and also today. Particularly for today, you would see people come joining the fun ride. That probably for the beginner, the people start to learn and love cycling. So we are happy to see this activity and the participation of the people.
One of the weekend's most significant moments would reinforce this spirit of Ride for All. Thanks to the event's supporters, 150 of the area's most disadvantaged 8 to 13-year-olds were the recipients of jerseys, bikes and helmets to first tackle the course and then to keep for themselves to use in day-to-day life.
We're happy that we have received some interest, I think, from our partner like Mitsubishi and also IMG, Siam Country Club. So we work together as a collective effort and giving bike to those in need that bike. Concept of Ride for All is very impactful. The meaning of it is making the cycling more accessible to the people. People might perceive cycling as some sort of expensive activity, expensive sport. You need a lot of money to pay for gears and the other. But you have seen this morning, I think, for the kids of the association that we do some donation by giving bike to them. I think they would learn the concept of sharing. At least they could share something together. I think they would learn how to achieve something. If they start from something small like cycling, I think that would give them some sort of inspiration. They could do something bigger in the future.
A fitting way to end a weekend of cycling celebration and a legacy for years to come. That's all from this very special look back at the inaugural Bangkok Bank CycleFest. Thanks for watching.